I understand.
I am your mother.
By all means, I agree.
Me and you ain't never even had an argument in our life. What is going on? We ain't
It sounds like you had a lot of animosity or something. For somebody, when you let somebody hit your mom, you have to have a lot of animosity.
What are you doing? So what do we ever have an argument about? When have you ever been thrown out of my house? When have you ever been mistreated? I ain't never let no man put hands on you.
I just told you what gave her the right. I just told you what gave her the right. But I'm saying you coming down, you stooping to our level.
Because y'all started talking to me like y'all was at this level, so I brought you to that level.
Are you willing to give her an apology?
Why is y'all?
Right? I mean, we have a conversation.
You was wrong, bro. You was wrong.
How?
Nobody expected a family disagreement to turn into a full-blown internet spectacle. But the moment Blueface used the word obsessed, the fuse was already lit. One sentence, one accusation. And suddenly Karlissa wasn't just responding, she was going live like she had receipts, memories, and emotional luggage she'd been waiting to unpack. This wasn't a casual clapback. This felt like years of tension hitting the record button all at once. Because when Blueface says Karlissa is obsessed with Chrisean, it doesn't land like shade, it lands like betrayal. The kind that makes people stop protecting feelings and start protecting narratives. And Karlissa didn't log on to clear things up. She logged on to set the tone. Voice shaking, energy sharp, stories pouring out like they'd been waiting for daylight. The internet leaned in instantly, treating the live like a leaked voicemail nobody was supposed to hear. Timelines froze. Comment sections ignited. And suddenly everyone was asking the same question. Is this obsession? Or unresolved trauma finally spilling into the open? Because this wasn't giving petty beef. This was giving family wounds, public embarrassment, and a history that never healed properly. This made the Kardashians look like a Hallmark special. The moment Blueface dropped the word obsessed, it wasn't just shade, it was a trigger. Because that word doesn't float in family drama, it cuts. And when he aimed it straight at Karlissa and tied it to Chrisean, the internet already knew what was coming next. This wasn't going to be a tweet. This wasn't going to be a quiet denial. This was going to be a live explosion. Karlissa didn't hesitate. No pee or pause. No drafted statement. She went straight to the front lines, camera on, emotions loaded, history locked. And the way she went live made it clear this wasn't a reaction. It was a release. The kind that builds up over years of being talked about, talked over, and talked around. To understand why this moment hits so hard, you have to rewind. Blueface and Karlissa's relationship has always lived in public tension. It's not just mother and son, it's manager, commentator, defender, critic, and sometimes rival, all wrapped into one messy dynamic. Add Chrisean Rock into that mix, and the emotional temperature has been boiling for a long time. This wasn't new drama. This was unresolved history catching up in real time. When Blueface accused Karlissa of being obsessed with Chrisean, he didn't just insult her. He reframed her entire presence. Suddenly, every past comment, every live appearance, every opinion she'd ever voiced got recast as fixation instead of concern. And that narrative spread fast. Because once the internet gets a label, it sticks it everywhere. Karlissa knew that. And she wasn't about to let her role in this story be rewritten without a fight. So when she hit go live, the tone was immediate. This wasn't chaotic yelling. This was controlled frustration. The kind that sounds calm but hits harder because it's deliberate. She didn't jump straight into insults. She went straight into context. Her voice carried that familiar mix of hurt and defiance, like someone who's been waiting for the chance to explain herself without being interrupted. She talked about boundaries, about family lines that blurred into public commentary, about how concern gets mislabeled as obsession when you're not allowed to care loudly. And every sentence felt like it had been rehearsed internally for years, even if it was being spoken for the first time out loud. The internet reacted instantly. Some viewers showed up ready to clown. Others came ready to listen. And a surprising number stayed quiet, because they could tell this wasn't just about Chrisean anymore. This was about Karlissa feeling erased, reframed, and reduced to a stereotype she didn't recognize. As the live continued, she leaned into stories that explained her behavior instead of defending it. She spoke about emotional patterns, about watching her son change in public, about feeling blamed for dynamics she didn't create but was always expected to clean up. And when she mentioned trauma, not in detail, but in tone, the energy shifted completely. Because trauma doesn't sound dramatic. It sounds tired. Comment sections flipped midstream. People who came to laugh started typing wait. Others admitted they didn't know this side of the story. Screenshots flew. Clips got chopped. And suddenly, the narrative wasn't Karlissa is obsessed. It was there's more here than we thought. That's when Blueface's accusations started looking less like truth and more like strategy. Viewers began questioning the timing. Why now? Why publicly? Why frame it that way when everyone knows how fast labels turn into weapons online? And whether intentional or not, the accusation had already done its job. It forced Karlissa into defense mode in front of millions. But Karlissa didn't crumble. She reframed. She talked about how being vocal as a mother in the public eye comes with a cost. How silence gets interpreted as guilt and speaking up gets labeled obsession. How women, especially mothers, get flattened into caricatures when they don't play quietly in narratives built around younger, louder personalities. And the sarcasm crept in as sharp, controlled, surgical. She laughed at the idea that caring equals fixation. She questioned why her concern was seen as intrusive while everyone else's commentary was treated as entertainment. And that line, that hit hard. Because it exposed the double standard. The internet loves loud concern until it's inconvenient. It loves maternal instincts until they disrupt the storyline. And Karlissa made it clear she was done shrinking herself to make the drama more digestible. As the live stretched on, the tone grew heavier. Not louder, heavier. She spoke about being misunderstood publicly and unsupported privately, about how criticism sticks harder when it comes from your own child. And that's when the situation crossed from viral drama into emotional territory people weren't prepared for. This wasn't a rant. This was a reckoning. Reaction channels started pivoting midstream. Thumbnails changed tone. Captions softened. What started as Karlissa snaps turned into Karlissa explains. That's a rare switch in internet culture, and it only happens when authenticity punches through expectation. But not everyone was convinced. Some accused her of using trauma as a shield. Others doubled down on the obsession narrative, arguing that going live at all proved Blueface's point. That irony didn't go unnoticed. Karlissa even addressed it, calling out the impossible standard: stay silent and be misrepresented, or speak up and be accused of doing too much. By the end of the live, the damage was already done, but not in the way people expected. Blueface's word choice had backfired. Instead of shrinking Karlissa's voice, it amplified it. Instead of closing a conversation, it opened one that exposed family fractures the internet had only been dancing around. And the biggest twist? Chrisean wasn't even the center of the live. She was the catalyst, but the story was always about power, perception, and who gets to control the narrative when family drama becomes public content. The internet didn't just watch. It chose sides. And once sides are chosen, the escalation is inevitable. Once Karlissa's live ended, the internet didn't cool down, it overheated. This is the phase where context gets chopped, emotions get weaponized, and everyone suddenly becomes a certified expert on family trauma, narcissism, and toxic dynamics after watching 3 clips and a comment thread. The live didn't just trend. It fractured timelines. TikTok moved first, because TikTok always does. Clips of Karlissa's calmest moments were paired with sad piano music and captions like "Y'all owe her an apology." Other creators took the sharpest soundbites, looped them, and slapped C. This is obsession in bold red letters. Same live, completely different narratives. And both sides swore they were watching the truth. Memes exploded immediately. Someone compared the situation to a family reunion that accidentally turned into a reality show audition. Another said this drama made the Kardashians look like they resolved conflict through group hugs and scented candles. One viral post joked that Karlissa's live had more emotional range than a full season of scripted television, and the joke stuck because it wasn't wrong. Twitter, meanwhile, turned into a digital boxing ring. Threads popped up arguing whether Karlissa was setting the record straight or proving Blueface's point. The word obsessed got dissected like it was a legal term. People debated its definition, its intent, and its psychological implications as if Webster's himself was about to log in and clarify. Blueface didn't immediately respond, and that silence only made things louder. His supporters argued that Karlissa going live at all validated his accusation. Her supporters fired back that defending yourself doesn't equal fixation. It equals survival in the public eye. Nobody changed their mind. They just typed faster. Then came the celebrity-adjacent reactions. Not full statements, never full statements. Just likes, reposts, and subtle comments that sent people spiraling. Someone liked a post defending Karlissa. Another shared a quote about boundaries and parents. The internet treated every interaction like it was a secret endorsement, even when it clearly wasn't meant to be. Reaction channels pivoted hard. Early thumbnails screaming Karlissa meltdown quietly disappeared, replaced with Karlissa speaks her truth. That shift mattered. It signaled something rare: empathy outperforming mockery. But don't get it twisted. The mockery didn't disappear. It just found new angles. People started pulling up history. Old lives. Old interviews. Old moments where Karlissa commented on Chrisean or defended Blueface publicly. Context got stretched like it was made of rubber. Supporters called it consistency. Critics called it fixation. Same footage. Two interpretations. That's the internet in a nutshell. Chrisean's name trended again, and not because she said anything, but because she didn't. Silence became its own storyline. Some praised her for staying out of it. Others accused her of letting Karlissa take the heat. Every choice was wrong depending on who you asked. And then the narrative took a sharper turn. People started reframing the drama as a power struggle. Who gets to speak? Who gets believed? Who gets labeled emotional versus honest? Suddenly, this wasn't just about a mother and son arguing online. It was about how women, especially older women in messy celebrity ecosystems, get boxed into extremes. Either you're too involved or didn't do enough. There is no middle ground. Karlissa's words about trauma got replayed over and over, sometimes respectfully, sometimes recklessly. Some viewers resonated deeply. Others accused her of oversharing. And once trauma enters a public narrative, the internet does what it does best. It judges how well you perform it. Too calm, you're fake. Too emotional, you're manipulative. There is no correct volume. Blueface finally responded indirectly, not with a full breakdown, but with energy. Subtle dismissiveness. A tone that suggested he wasn't moved. That response landed badly with people who had shifted toward empathy. To them, it looked like deflection. To his supporters, it looked like boundaries. Same moment, different lenses. And here's where things escalated beyond jokes. People started questioning the long-term damage. Not to reputations, to relationships. Viewers pointed out that this wasn't just content. This was family history being archived permanently. That every clip, every caption, every meme was something that couldn't be taken back. The internet might forget, but families don't. Still, the algorithms didn't care. Engagement was through the roof. Every post fed the next one. Every reaction birthed 3 more. And Karlissa's live became the centerpiece of a conversation that had officially left her control. Supporters praised her composure. Critics nitpicked her tone. Some called her brave. Others called her bitter. The truth probably lived somewhere in the uncomfortable middle. But the internet hates the middle. It wants heroes and villains, not nuance. By the time the frenzy peaked, the accusation of obsession had morphed into something bigger. It wasn't just about Chrisean anymore. It was about motherhood under surveillance. about being publicly criticized by your own child, about defending yourself in a space where silence and speech are both punished. And the scariest part, no matter how this played out next, the damage was already done. Lines had been drawn, sides had been chosen, and family dynamics had been flattened into thumbnails and captions that would outlive the moment itself. The live didn't end the conversation, it multiplied it, and as the noise began to settle, something became very clear. This wasn't going to blow over quietly. The aftermath was coming. The kind that doesn't trend immediately, but hits harder over time. Because when family drama becomes public entertainment, the real consequences don't show up in likes. When the noise finally started to die down, it didn't feel like peace. It felt like exhaustion. The kind that settles in after too many words have been said, too many clips have been shared, and too many people have picked sides in a family situation that never belonged to them in the first place. The internet moved on like it always does. But for the people at the center of it, nothing reset. Karlissa felt the shift first. Not in headlines or viral moments, but in silence. The kind that follows after you say too much and still feel misunderstood. Her live had done what it needed to do. It disrupted the narrative that she was simply obsessed, but it also locked her into a new role. No longer just vocal, now emotional, now exposed. And once the internet labels you exposed, everything you say afterward gets filtered through that lens. Some supporters stayed loud, defending her right to speak and calling her honesty overdue. Others quietly drifted away, uncomfortable with how personal things had become. That's the cost of vulnerability in public spaces. It connects deeply with some people and alienates others who only wanted entertainment, not emotional reality. Blueface, meanwhile, didn't come out looking untouched. His accusation had ripple effects he couldn't control. By calling Karlissa obsessed, he reframed his mother not as concerned, but as fixated. And while that may have felt like a clean dismissal in the moment, it landed differently once Karlissa spoke at length. To many viewers, it looked less like truth and more like deflection. Less boundary setting, more silencing. That perception mattered because once the internet starts questioning motive, it doesn't stop at one moment. It starts revisiting old ones. People pulled up past interviews where Blueface minimized family conflict. Others resurfaced moments where Karlissa defended him publicly, even when it cost her credibility. Suddenly, the narrative flipped. Instead of obsession, people started talking about erasure. Chrisean Rock remained mostly silent, but her absence was loud in its own way. The internet debated whether staying quiet was maturity or avoidance. Some praised her for not inserting herself into family drama that wasn't hers to manage. Others argued that her silence let Karlissa absorb all the backlash alone. Either way, Chrisean became a symbol instead of a participant, and symbols don't get the benefit of context. Karlissa's presence online shifted after the live. She spoke less. When she did speak, the tone was more guarded. Not because she had nothing to say, but because she now understood how quickly words get stripped of intention once they leave your mouth. The live gave her a voice, but it also taught her how unforgiving the internet can be when you use it. Blueface's relationship with public opinion took a subtle hit. Not dramatic, not cancel-worthy, just enough to alter perception. Some fans stayed loyal. Others started asking harder questions about how he handles conflict, especially with people closest to him. That kind of skepticism lingers longer than outrage ever does. The biggest consequence wasn't reputational. It was relational. Once family conflict becomes content, it stops being private even when the cameras turn off. Every future interaction carries the weight of what was said publicly. Every disagreement risks becoming a sequel. And that pressure changes how people move around each other. The internet framed this as entertainment, as a clash, as another episode in an ongoing saga. But for the people involved, it was a line crossed, a moment that can't be undone. Trauma doesn't evaporate because the comments stop coming in. It sits, it waits, and it resurfaces later in quieter ways, What made this moment linger wasn't the accusation itself. It was the realization that obsession is an easy word to use when you don't want to engage with complexity. It's a shortcut, and shortcuts feel satisfying in the moment, but they leave damage behind. Karlissa didn't come out of this as a villain or a hero. She came out human, messy, emotional, contradictory, and the internet doesn't know what to do with that unless it can reduce it to something simpler. So it tried. It labeled. It moved on, but the tension stayed. This wasn't a story with a clean ending. There was no apology tour, no reconciliation clip, no viral hug moment, just space. And sometimes space is the loudest aftermath of all. As the weeks passed, one thing became clear. This wasn't about obsession. It was about ownership of narrative, about who gets to define care versus control, about what happens when family pain is dragged into public arenas that reward conflict more than resolution. The internet will forget the details. It always does. But the people involved won't forget how it felt, how fast things spiraled, how permanent everything became once it was clipped and shared. All right, now it's on you. Was Blueface right to call it obsession? Or did Karlissa finally snap after being dismissed one too many times? Did that live feel like a necessary oversharing? Or did it feel like years of frustration finally finding oxygen? Don't sit there scrolling in silence. Drop your take in the comments and let the internet jury do what it does. Best. If this breakdown had you locked in like a reality show, you swear you're done watching but somehow never miss. Smash that like button like it owes you money and blocked your number. Every like tells the algorithm to keep pushing these stories right to your feed. And if you're new here, don't ghost. Hit that subscribe button because this channel doesn't wait for drama to cool off. When family business spills into public chaos, when lives turn into exposes, and when one word flips an entire narrative, we're already here breaking it down sharper, louder, and more entertaining than anyone else. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next meltdown, the next live, or the next moment the internet pretends to be shocked by behavior it can't stop watching. Because let's be real, stories like this don't end. They evolve. This is where messy family dynamics meet viral culture, where narratives get dissected, and where the internet's favorite chaos gets decoded without filters. Stay curious. Stay loud, stay tuned, because the next time someone goes live with emotions loaded and receipts half ready, you already know where to find us. Celeb Sync.